There is a white ring running around the walls of Lake Mead. It looks like a bathtub that has not been scrubbed in 40 years. Pale mineral rock, baked by the desert sun, marking where the water used to reach and no longer does. From the air, it looks like a scar. From the shoreline, it looks like a warning. Lake Mead is the largest reservoir in the United States. It was last full in 1983. Since the year 2000, the water has fallen about 160 feet, and today, the lake sits at roughly a third of its capacity. 25 million people depend on it. Las Vegas pulls 90% of everything from its taps out of this one lake. The farms of Arizona and California draw from the same source. So does much of northern Mexico. At the bottom of the reservoir, there is a line called Dead Pool. At 895 feet above sea level, the water falls too low to pass through Hoover Dam. No flow downstream, no power. For the cities and farms built around this river, Dead Pool is not an engineering term. It is the end. And the lake is still falling. But one city saw this coming 20 years ago. While everyone else argued, Las Vegas quietly spent more than $1 billion on the one thing that would let it survive, a lake this low. This is the story of how the Southwest ran dry, and how the city everyone blames became the only one that beat it. The lake only exists because of one of the most ambitious things this country ever built. In 1931, in the depths of the Great Depression, the federal government went looking for a project big enough to put a broken country back to work. It chose a dam in the Nevada desert, taller than anything of its kind ever attempted. 5,000 men built it in canyon heat that passed 120 degrees. Over 5 years, they poured enough concrete to lay a 2-lane highway from New York to San Francisco. 96 of them died. When Hoover Dam was finished in 1936, it was the largest concrete structure on Earth, hailed as a marvel of its century. The dam did more than tame a river. It made the modern Southwest possible. Phoenix, Tucson, Los Angeles, San Diego, and a dusty railroad town of 8,000 people called Las Vegas. For decades, it worked exactly as designed. The lake stayed full, the turbines ran, and the whole region grew around one quiet assumption: that the water would always be there. It was wrong. The mistake was written into the rules before the dam was even finished. In 1922, 7 states signed the Colorado River Compact and split the river between them. On paper, they divided about 16.5 million acre-feet of water every year in perpetuity. There was one problem. They measured the river during the wettest stretch in its recorded history and treated that as normal. Across centuries of tree ring data, the river's true average is closer to 13.5 million acre-feet. Since the year 2000, it has carried around 12 million. Every year, about a quarter of the water the law promises simply does not exist. That missing water had to come from somewhere. For 2 decades, it came from Lake Mead, which drained its own savings to cover a shortfall written into the rules a century ago. The decline was slow, then relentless. Above 1,200 feet in 2000. Below 1,100 feet by 2010. In 2022, the lake hit 1,041 feet, the lowest since it was first filled. Boat ramps ended hundreds of feet from the water. Sunken wrecks, and even a body in a barrel rose out of the mud. Scientists who read the tree rings call this the driest stretch in at least 1,200 years, and about half of it traces to rising heat that evaporates the lake and burns off the mountain's snow before it reaches the river. This is not a dry spell that ends next winter. If you like stories of places pushed to the edge and pulled back, subscribe to Comeback Atlas. Here is why every foot matters. Below 1,035 feet, most of Hoover Dam's turbines shut down. At 950 feet, the water cannot reach them at all. At 895 feet, dead pool. Nothing moves downstream. In 2000, the lake sat 330 feet above dead pool. Today, it is about 160 feet above it. It has fallen halfway to the end in a single generation. Then 2026 made it worse. The Rockies' winter snowpack came in at record lows, and a March heat wave burned off what little was left. With Lake Powell upstream falling just as fast, federal managers held its water back in April and cut the release into Lake Mead by nearly 1.5 million acre-feet. The Bureau of Reclamation now expects Lake Mead to reach 1,021 feet by the summer of 2027, breaking the record set in 2022 by more than 20 feet. The 7 states were supposed to agree on a new plan by February 2026. They missed the deadline, and they are still arguing. Every city on this lake saw it coming. Only one decided that waiting was not a plan. When people picture what is draining Lake Mead, they picture Las Vegas, the Strip, the fountains, the golf courses carved into the Mojave. It looks obvious. The math says otherwise. Nevada's entire share of the Colorado River is 300,000 acre-feet a year, the smallest of any state on it. Arizona takes roughly 8 times more. California takes more than 13 times more. Farms across the Southwest drink about 70% of the whole river. The famous city of Excess uses a fraction of what one farming valley takes in a year. And for 20 years, while the states argued and the lake fell, Las Vegas did the work. First, conservation. Nevada paid homeowners $3 for every square foot of decorative grass they tore out. Since 1999, the city has pulled up 250 million square feet of it and saved more than 200 billion gallons of water. Between 2002 and 2025, it cut water use per person by 58%, while adding nearly 900,000 people, and still used less total water than before they arrived. Second, recycling. Nearly every drop Las Vegas uses indoors is cleaned and sent straight back to Lake Mead. Half of everything it draws comes home. Third, where the real money went, the pipes. Vegas had 2 intakes built for a full lake, both at risk of rising above the shrinking waterline, so it drilled a third, far deeper. A boring machine cut nearly 3 miles under the lake bed through fault zones and flooding rock, one of the hardest tunneling jobs on Earth that decade. Then it added a pump station that reaches lower still, under budget. Together they reach water at 875 feet. That is 20 feet below dead pool. If the lake ever falls to where Arizona, California, and Mexico lose their supply, Las Vegas can still drink. The whole system cost about $1.5 billion. It is the most direct answer any city on this lake has given to one simple question: what do you do when the water keeps falling? So Las Vegas beat it. The city everyone blamed turned itself into the most water-efficient big city in North America and locked in its own supply below the level that ends everyone else's. But be careful with that word. None of it makes the Colorado River carry one more drop. Vegas secured Vegas. It did not save the lake. After every rebate and every mile of tunnel, Lake Mead is still only about a third full, and a new record low is still coming. Every fix here answers the same small question: how to survive a falling lake. None of them answers the large one: why it keeps falling. Because Lake Mead was never really the problem. It is the gauge. The real question is whether the American Southwest can learn to live on a river that may never again give what the 20th century promised. Las Vegas has proven it can be done. Whether the rest of the West follows is a story still being written. If you want to see which places claw their way back and which ones do not, subscribe to Comeback Atlas, and I will see you in the next one.